I'm looking
Good.
forward to hearing a little more. Okay, so here we go. Hi, I'm Patricia. Welcome to the 80th episode of A Breath of Song. I'm so glad you chose to do this today, which is extra special because Kate Thomas is joining us for a songwriter conversation. Hi, Kate, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Maria Popova says, in a lifetime of living in this body, I have known no more powerful homecoming than music. We're here to invite ourselves to come home with songs that help us heal and adapt and grow. Your voice is exactly what's needed for this. I'm coming to you straight from my home in what is now called Burlington, Vermont, on the unceded lands of the Abenaki people. And Kate, tell us where you're calling from.
I'm coming from Burngreave, which is an area in the middle of Sheffield in the UK.
And for our non-UK listeners, can you tell us approximately where Sheffield is in the UK?
It's kind of right in the middle. We're quite close to Manchester, but we're on the other side of the Pennines from Manchester. So we get less rain than people in Manchester, which is nice.
All of our voices will turn up as they are today, and no matter what, we can feel the connection to our breath and vibration in our body. Let's find how good it can feel to sing. So last week I shared Kate's song invitation, Be Yourself. Today, Kate will be teaching us a beautiful song of hers called Go Dark. We'll learn it slowly so it can settle inside you and you can begin to trust it as a resource, let it move you into a state of flow, and then we get to enjoy a conversation with Kate, and we'll close out again with the song at the end. You'll always be able to find this episode on the website, abreathofsong.com, or wherever you get your podcasts, and rewind, listen as many times as you'd like, of course. But let's start with a good yawn stretch. Maybe roll your shoulders, stretch into your back. You'll hear both Kate and me getting into our morning voices. Actually, morning for me, afternoon for Kate.
Yeah, or nearly evening.
Nearly evening. So finding space in your body and starting to notice as the air flows in and out. As it comes in, what can it expand? And as it goes out, what can it take with it? And letting it come in and noticing the rib cage widen. And as it goes out, noticing the face relax. And as it comes in, noticing the belly soften. And as it goes out, noticing your neck relax and release. And as it comes in, noticing the pelvic bowl widen and deepen. And as it goes out, allowing your spine and your shoulders to release. And letting the inhale happen again. On the exhale, we're going to just let it make sound. And another inhale on the exhale. Let your lips be fat and big. Yeah. And another sighing from top to bottom, whatever that means for you. And maybe making some cat noises. And some really wide open dog noises, big dog. And then whatever feels good noises. Yay! I'm going to turn it over to Kate to share the song.
So, shall I just say something about the song?
Sure. Do it however
Yeah.
you'd like to share it.
So, I first came across it as a poem. The words are from Wendell Berry. And I think it was in a book called Soul Food. And I just read the words and I really liked them. And I think it was around the time that I had read a book called Learning to Walk in the Dark by Barbara Brown Taylor. And it was all about the good stuff that comes out of dark times, or the good stuff that is found in dark times. And lots of songs celebrate light, but, we spend a lot of time in the dark. So I just really like the words. And so I turned them into this song. And the tune is actually the tenor part, which is unusual, but I'm singing it in a different key from probably how it is in the book. So the tune goes like this. I'll sing the whole thing first, and then we can do it in smaller chunks. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. Go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. So that's the whole of the tune. Maybe I'll just do it line by line, and you can tell me when you've got it. So there's a kind of da-da-da-da-da-da rhythm going on underneath. So the first line is, to go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. So I'll sing that again and I'll go on to the next line. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight. And there's a little bit of sort of syncopation or something around the words go dark. To know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight. Shall I do the first two lines together?
Actually, could you do to know the dark, go dark, tapping the one doon 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 rhythm?
Yeah.
So we can hear how that lines up?
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. So, to know the dark, go dark, go without sight.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that better? Good. And then the next bit goes, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and find that the dark too blooms and sings. And then it goes, and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. I'll sing the whole thing. Ready, and to go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. Again, I'm going to just do it with the guitar so we can get used to singing it with that. Dee dee. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark to blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. How's that? That's okay? I'll teach one of the other parts, which is the alto part, but it feels much higher in this key. So the alto part goes like this. Do-do. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight. To know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight. I'll do those first two. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find two blooms and stings. So slightly fewer words here. Go without sight, and find two blooms and stings, and find two blooms and stings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings, and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. I'll do those last two lines. And find two blooms and stings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. I'll do it all. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find two blooms and stings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. Shall I do that part with the guitar as well? Do-do. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find two blooms and stings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. So, how about if I sing the tune through with the guitar once, and then the second time through I'll jump onto the high harmony, and maybe you keep going with the tune? Yeah?
Okay, we'll try it.
To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with a light is to to know the light, to know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. Once more. I didn't sing the high part.
That was okay.
I'll do it this time. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find two blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find two blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings.
Okay, I need some help with the third line. I got, I think, all of it, but the third line, the beginning of the third line, I was missing.
In the tune or the harmony?
In the tune.
In the tune. Go without sight and find that the dark too. And go without sight and find that the dark too. So there's some short little notes.
Yeah.
Without sight and find that the dark too
And
blooms and sings.
Yep. I got the blooms and sings, but not the and find that the dark
Yeah, the little
too.
bit before.
Yeah, a little bit before.
Yeah.
Can we do it again
Yeah.
with you singing the melody and then singing the harmony?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that'd
can,
be great. Thank
I
you.
just totally forgot about the harmony.
No,
then.
that was okay. I was thinking to myself, oh, please don't go to the harmony yet, because I'm not quite there on the melody.
Okay. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find two blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings.
So it is so beautiful. And I don't quite have that third part yet. I don't know why. I had it when you were singing it, but when we were singing it separately. So I'm going to invite us to do it just one more time, because I feel like it's so beautiful and it's just starting to settle in for me.
Yeah.
And this time I promise the listeners that if I still didn't get it, I'll go back and re-record it so that I am actually singing the accurate melody. And then then you'll be able to sing it with Kate and me. I don't know. You know, I've been so sick and that's all excuses. I'm just, I can't learn this super quickly. If I were listening to the podcast, I'd be rewinding. But I just want to notice that I just caught with the words, to go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without light. That just sort of clicked and started making sense to me. What a beautiful idea that is for hard times, for difficult times, to let yourself go into it, go into dark places as the dark, instead of trying to always carry a light in there. Because when it's light, you can't see the dark.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I know you knew that already, but it was kind of clicking as we were singing, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, that's
Yeah.
so beautiful." So, okay.
Yeah, it's just becoming dark. There's a window right here, and it's just becoming dark as well. So
Lovely.
to go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings.
That is just such a beautiful song, Kate. Really, really lovely. Tell me, when you sing it, I told you what I was thinking of when I sang it. When you sing it, what are you thinking of?
Well, it's interesting. I sing with a friend and another friend who now lives in Manchester. And so when we were in the habit of rehearsing a lot, we'd drive across the Peak District to meet Rose. And we were driving across one time, and it had snowed, and it was cold for ages, and so the snow hung around. And we were driving over this bit of the Peak District where it's very bare. There's nothing. You can't see anything. There's just sort of moors. And it was covered in little footprints of animals. And you never see the animals when you're driving over. But they're obviously all over the place. And I always think of that because it looks like such an empty space. And then you realise that there are little creatures crisscrossing it the whole time. I often think about that, actually, when we get to the dark feet and dark wings bit.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. So in Sheffield, what is the first sound that you usually make when you wake up in the morning?
It's probably to say in a slightly blurry voice, "Are you going for a run today?" to my partner, who sometimes runs and sometimes doesn't, and that sometimes gives me a vague idea of what time it might be. So it's not a very edifying thing to start the day with, but
I mean, it's kind of locating you in the moment, right? Lovely. What's the very earliest song memory you have?
When I was about 5 or 6, we were living in quite a big house, sort of on the edge of London, I suppose. And I can remember Dad making up a silly song. I was the oldest of 4, and I don't think my littlest sister was born at this point. But I can remember us running round the sitting room singing this song. 2 little girls and 1 little boy playing in our big room. They were pretending to be, lions or whatever. Whatever we were pretending to be, make that sound, and then run around again singing 2 little girls and 1 little boy. Again, not a sort of musical, sort of up there, what a great piece of art, but that's probably the earliest song I can remember.
What a great song to sing to wear out 3 little kids.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
So did your dad sing a lot with you?
Yes, we always did quite a lot of music at home. We grew up in churches, so there was always lots of music happening through that, but he and Mum both Mum played the piano, Dad played the guitar, and at some point when we were younger he played the French horn. So there was kind of music happening and always quite a lot of just sort of singing going on. Yeah.
Did you always know that music was going to be something you wanted to do with your life? Or tell me how that evolved for you.
It was always something that I did for fun. There was always that sort of strand of church involvement, so there was always lots of music there. And in my teens, I was in a very big youth group. We did a lot of singing, a lot of music and sort of theatre-y stuff. So there was always lots there, and lots going on in school, choir, orchestra, all that sort of thing. I didn't ever think it would be something I would do for my work. So I went off and did other things work-wise. And then I think when I was maybe about 30, I joined a women's singing group in Sheffield and absolutely loved it. And I hadn't done that kind of learning by ear singing before. I'd always been in choirs where we had music. Not so much in churchy stuff, we just sang then, but in terms of harmonies and stuff, I hadn't been in that sort of group before. And really, I just thought I'd died and gone to heaven. It was wonderful. And about a year after being in that group, the woman who was leading it, who's now a really good friend, said, would I take on another group of hers that she had too much work? And I sort of thought, well, I'm not trained, I can't do that. But I sort of thought, maybe I can. So that's when I started. That was about 20 years ago, I think. And I think what I have realised since is that even though I haven't got sort of formal training to do this stuff, actually everything that I've done just for enjoyment teaches you stuff. So you're sort of receiving your musical education without realising it. Yeah, so I sort of just got in it and then gradually gained more groups. So that's kind of how it happened, sort of picking it up along the way. But there was never a great intention or a plan at all.
Tell me specifically about with your voice. Were you always comfortable with your voice as you were going through singing? Did you go through stages or phases with your voice?
I don't think I did really. I think I just always sang and it was fine. I know when I was at school, I think I sometimes sang quite loud, and people would say, oh, you sing so loud, Kate. And I felt quite pleased about that, which, I don't really know why. I think I've learnt to sing more quietly, which is good. But no, it wasn't ever a thing that, I think it always just came fairly naturally. And it's not really until I've started teaching that I've come across people for whom, maybe they were told to be quiet when they were at school, or told just to mouth the words, or told they couldn't sing, that sort of thing. Yeah, I've come across that more through sort of working with groups.
Sometimes I've thought that it's been helpful to me to have had to learn to sing as an adult. I came through piano and I thought I wasn't a singer. I can't sing. I don't, but I loved singing. And then I kind of had to reconnect with my voice and learn to sing as an adult. And eventually I thought, well, that's actually been a real gift to me, because it's been easier for me to work with other people who aren't connected with their voice from the get-go, because it's something I had to do with intention. What have you found as your ways in to help people?
I think I've just, over the years, seen so many people who've come along and said, I can't really sing, but I just really want to have a go. Or something has drawn them in, maybe a friend, or maybe they've seen the choir perform and thought, I'd really like to be part of that. And I've just seen a lot of people come who have just settled into it, basically, by just turning up and practicing. And I think with something like driving, we just assume that pretty much as long as you have your 2 arms and 2 legs, you'll be able to learn to drive. Some people take to it really quickly, some people take longer. But we don't say you'll never drive. We just but I think we do with arty things. We say you'll never sing, you'll never learn to draw, you'll never do, And actually, I think some people do get it very quickly. Some people take a bit more time, but I think it's there for everyone. Yes, I've just seen people who have taken quite some time to sort of learn to pitch things right, but they get there. I think I've only actually known one person over the course of over 20 years who persistently struggled to pitch things. And I think there were a lot of other things going on for him in terms of mental health and other things that were making it difficult for him to listen, really. I think probably the main thing is that people feel relaxed and they feel it's okay to make mistakes, and they feel they don't feel under pressure. If you can create an atmosphere that's really sort of friendly and accepting and give people time, then they'll get there at some point. Now, I think I'm generally fairly laid back.
I know of 3 groups that you're leading. Tell me if I've got these right. Confidence Through Singing, Body of Sound, and Purple Cats.
Yes, there's another group called Singing Through the Seasons.
Okay. So what do you love about community singing? You know, you said that when you were singing the harmonies with people, that was just magical to you. What was it?
Yeah. It's partly that the first week I went, they were singing Wanting Memories by Sweet Honey and the Rock. And I just thought, I can't believe that they're singing this. I'd had it on a cassette from a friend of mine who lives in the States, and just thought it was the most beautiful song. And I thought, I'm actually going to get to sing it, you know. So, I mean, it's just the pleasure of singing in harmony. I did a little bit of that with my brother and my sisters, just kind of informally, and just always really enjoyed that. And I would often sort of make up harmonies if I was doing stuff at church. But I think also, as the years have rolled around, just the sense of community that builds up in those groups is wonderful. It's a really nice way to be with people. One thing I've discovered actually through Singing Through the Seasons, which is set up for women with sort of it's a sort of singing for well-being. Some people have diagnosed mental health conditions. Some just know that it makes them feel good to sing. And it's quite an easy way to be with people, because there isn't a lot of time for people to say, how are you? And what do you do with your life? And, you know, most of the time you're just, you're doing this thing with people, but you're not having to think of witty things to say. You're just learning and then making this lovely sound and thinking, gosh, was I part of that? That sounded a bit good, you know? So I think it's a very healing way to be with people. You know, it just makes people feel good.
Yeah. I describe A Breath of Song as being a podcast about sharing songs that help us uncover wellness that's already there inside ourselves. Singing to help us heal and adapt and grow. And I'm wondering if you can think of a story or a time you remember seeing song working as a healing or an adaptive modality, either for yourself or for someone else.
Going back to that group, Singing Through the Seasons, I think there are people in that group who have found it very wonderful to be sort of part of a gang, you know, part of a tribe, really. Maybe they haven't had such a sort of positive or kind of welcoming space to belong to before. And we did a big concert with all the groups that I teach. Singing Through the Seasons, we're raising money for the charity that organises that group. We had T-shirts printed with our name on, with Rooted and Strong written on the back. And we did this big concert in the cathedral, and it was such a buzz for people to feel part of something so positive. I guess a lot of people, you know, might not have experienced that before, that sort of sense of belonging. Yeah, and I think that has been really, really important for a lot of people.
Do you think there's something about doing a performance that ups that sense of belonging?
I do, yeah. I mean, I'm not none of the groups I teach do a lot of performing, but I think it does just give you a focus for a while, and everyone gets a bit scared, and then, you know, it goes well, and I think it's always a good thing to do.
It's kind of like you've tackled a mountain together and
yeah.
And certainly something that you wouldn't do alone.
No.
I mean, you can't sing choral music alone, to start with.
No. But no, I think, especially when we did that one in the cathedral, you know, it was a big venue. We were on sort of tiered, racked seating. So some people were right at the top. It was a big deal, a big kind of boost, I think.
So organizing something like that is a huge amount of work.
Yes, it was.
Getting the tiered seating in place, figuring out, do I have a spot for everybody to be?
Yeah.
lighting and music. So how did you go about doing it? How long was it in the planning?
We got some funding to put the concert on. I think it was probably about a year, probably, for planning. I mean, there's sort of knowing about it a year in advance, but the sort of intense bit would have been 3 or 4 months, I guess. I mean, there was a group of us organising it, so, it wasn't, nothing fell on one slim pair of shoulders.
So you've also written 2 books of songs, Honey and Salt and Scattered Seeds. That also seems like potentially a big project. Can you tell me about the books and also maybe tell me a little bit about how you approached the whole project?
Yeah, I didn't really set out to do it. I think I just got, with Honey and Salt, I just got to the point where I thought, I think I've written enough songs that it could be a book. And so I hadn't sort of started out thinking I want to write a book of songs at all. But I think I just got to a point where there were enough. And then once I had done one, I was carrying on writing songs, so it seemed obvious that at some point there would be enough for there to be a second book. Yes, it seemed like an obvious thing to do, I suppose, having written the songs. And I'm not inclined to sort of market myself. So if I don't put them in a songbook, there's no way they'll get beyond the groups that I've taught them to. So, it was a way to send them on their way to some other places.
And these are beautiful, beautiful songs. I bought the Honey and Salt book long before I contacted you about being on A Breath of Song.
Yeah.
And I've used several of the songs with my groups because they're just so lovely.
Good, thank you.
You have a very distinctive shape to your songs and harmonization. And it's lovely. You can tell that you love to sing harmony because the harmonies that you write are so beautiful. They have such beautiful chords. I keep using the word beautiful. I'm obviously not feeling hugely innovative right now, but I don't know what other word to use for them. They're sometimes they're spare, but they are incisive. They're the chords are sometimes unexpected and so colorful. They feel very clean. There's where I was going. They feel very clean, but unusual.
When I think at some earlier point in writing songs, I remember thinking, are all the songs I'm writing just the same, actually? Are they all, have I just got one song, essentially, and then sending out lots of different versions of it? And I remember discovering once that there was a musical phrase in one song that was exactly the same pattern of notes from another song in a slightly different... and I remember saying this to a friend, saying it's exactly the same. But somehow I had never noticed it. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it. But
you could say the same thing about Mozart or Beethoven. I mean, they recycled phrases. I think there's something about a phrase that speaks to you, a musical phrase that speaks to you, that you need to work with until it's no longer speaking to you, right?
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
When you wrote this song, Go Dark, for example, did you write the melody first? And you said you wrote it as a choral song.
Yeah. Yes, I always start with a tune and then figure out some harmonies.
When you're figuring out harmonies, do you record the tune and then sing with the tune to sort out the harmonies? Or do you figure it out on a keyboard? Or tell me about your process.
I quite often figure things out when I'm on my bike, which I think is something to do with the fact that if I'm going for a ride, my mind is kind of free. And I've found it quite a helpful way to figure out songs. I think it might be because essentially I'm going for a ride, and if I happen to write a song as well, that's a bonus, but I'm not sitting down at an empty desk thinking, got to write a tune.
Right.
And then if I don't write it, I'm just sitting there doing nothing. Or whether it's something about being in motion, I don't know what it is, but I have found it really helpful to be on a bike. So usually I'd figure out a tune, and then sometimes I can figure out some harmonies on a bicycle. But other times I'll put it onto GarageBand and then just play around with singing stuff alongside it. And see what works. I'm not very good at music theory, so I can't think, it needs the third or the this or the inversion. I don't really know what that stuff means.
Right, you're composing it by
But
ear.
if I hear it, I can, I can do it by ear.
The music books have sheet music in them.
Yeah.
Are you
yeah.
scoring those out yourself?
No, there was a great person called Colin Douglas who somebody told me about and said, if you send him the sound files, he just does it all.
Transcribes.
He does it really quickly. Yeah. Initially, I had thought, I'll do it all by hand. It'll look beautiful. And I had visions of these beautifully produced books, but I make so many mistakes. And I don't know all the rules of writing music down, and there's no consistency. And I just thought it'll be a bit of a mess, to be honest, and it'll take forever. And it'll be wrong. So yeah, I send them all to him.
Those are a lot of good reasons.
Yeah, they are. They're very good reasons.
So then when you get them back, you have a set of PDFs?
Yes, so he just sends the PDFs back, and then I just send the PDFs to a printer, and then it's a book.
Yeah. So you bike as well as sing. How else do you take care of yourself?
I've recently started, this is very exciting, well, very exciting to me. I've recently started to play the handpan. Are you familiar with the handpan?
I've seen, yes, but I haven't played it myself.
I first came across them about 20 years ago. I think I might have seen somebody playing one in the street or something like that. I found out that there were this couple of sort of scientists, physicists or something in Switzerland who were making them. And they wouldn't respond to email. You had to write them a proper letter. So I wrote them a proper letter and said, I'm very interested to find out about these. And they said, you have to come to Switzerland for a week. You have to bond with the hang that you want to buy. And I thought, well, I can't do that. My kids were small. I thought I can't be going off to Switzerland to do this. So ever since then, every so often I've sort of thought, I'd so like to try one of those. But just, they're very expensive, never got one. But I rented one during lockdown from a company. I thought maybe I need to get this out of my system. So I rented one and it was lovely. And I thought, how nice. And then thought, it's lovely, but they're too expensive. I'll send it back at the end of the rental period. And my partner said, do you want one for Christmas? And I thought, that's a bit ridiculous because normally we give each other a couple of books or something. So it was a bit sort of unprecedented. But yeah, it's fantastic. I'm really enjoying learning to play that.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Do you think it will change your harmonic sense?
I don't know. I have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But no, it's a beautiful sound. It's really, really lovely.
I'm going to ask you a fairly personal question, so you can skip it if you.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything that has thrown you out of? You seem so calm and willing to, as you said, pretty relaxed about things. Can you think of something that has wound you up or tightened you up or made life difficult? And then how you responded to it? What let you let go of it?
Something that has thrown me.
Yeah.
This is personal, but I'm happy to say it. I've got 3 kids, and before the first 2, I had very early miscarriages, which I knew that miscarriages happened, but until I had one, I didn't know how often they happened. I just knew there was this thing that happened. But once I had the first one, suddenly everyone says, yes, I had one, and give you the statistic of how many pregnancies end. And so I'd had one before my first, one before the second, and then before my third, I had a baby when I went for the scan, the 18-week or 17-week, I think it was, when I went for the scan, they told me that he had, I can't now remember the name. It'll come to me. But the top of his spinal cord hadn't formed properly. So it's a form of spina bifida, anencephaly, that's what it was called. In spina bifida, something happens with the spine that doesn't form.
Right.
In anencephaly, the head, top of the spine, which is in effect the brain, doesn't form properly. So they said he's alive at the moment, but mostly these babies don't survive pregnancy.
Oh, Kate.
If they get through to 9 months, they mostly die during birth because they don't have the organs properly.
Oh, Kate.
And having thought to myself, I wouldn't ever have a termination. I don't think I'd want to do that. I just thought, actually, that feels like the thing to do, because I don't know that I can go through this with everyone saying, oh, yeah, I can see you're pregnant. How long have you got to go? And I just thought, I don't think I can do that. And I don't think I can be a good mum to these 2 boys while this is going on.
Yeah.
So I decided to have a termination, and which in my case was a bit like just an induced birth, and this tiny baby was born that would just fit in my hands like this. And that was a big deal. And I mean, it's funny, at the time it felt like almost almost a double loss, like not knowing that I was never going to have the chance to get to know him. And I remember after that, because I had always thought I won't have a termination, as a person to whom that had never been a relevant thought, and had one, I remember thinking after that, I will never judge anybody for anything ever again, which I have not stuck to.
Who does? Yeah.
But it was interesting to have been very sure about something, and then to have just suddenly thought, yeah, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you shared that story with us, especially because many of my listeners are in the States.
Yes, and it's not really an issue in the UK, because at this point in time we don't feel that there's any threat to reproductive rights. But we often go where the States has been before, and it's just so shocking to see what's happening there, and to think, well, we would just never have expected that. You just assume that progress sort of moves on, and that we're not going to go backwards. And it is very shocking.
So what carried you as you were grieving, and you had your 2 boys? Was there music that you listened to as you were grieving? Were there songs that you sang as you were grieving? Are there songs that particularly connect you to that time of your life that you sing now?
I don't remember any particular songs from that time. Yeah, it was before I started singing natural voice, choiry type singing. Because the kids were small, it's quite likely that we had some music we listened to a lot when they were small. Raffi is from the States. My friend in the States gave me a Raffi. We listened to a lot of Raffi and the Singing Kettle, so quite possibly those were the songs I was listening to a lot at the time.
Yep. The Whale, Baby Beluga in the Deep Blue Sea, was that a Raffi song? I'm trying to remember. We had a Raffi CD too.
Yeah.
That we listened to. Are there songs that you sing now that feel connected to that for you?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head that sort of feels like a direct line to there.
It's always interesting to me. As I said, I've been sick for 5 weeks now, and It's kind of ironic because here I am doing a podcast about singing for wellness, and well-being, and but it's also giving me a chance to kind of put it to the test, right? And it's been really fascinating
Yeah.
for me to notice that the songs that I kind of expected would be songs that would be good for difficult times, it's not necessarily those songs that I want. I'm surprised by,
Yeah.
and when I don't want songs at all, thank you so much. My kids sent me Monument Valley, which is a computer game, graphics game, puzzle game. Very satisfying to do.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it's singing and sometimes it's not.
Yes.
What it is that helps.
Yeah. But I do think one thing that is really lovely about songs is that it gives you lots of words. It's almost like a way of memorizing poems, because it's hard just to remember words on their own. But if they have a tune attached, you can remember them. I think it's lovely that you can sort of, if you're teaching a group for a while, you're sort of helping them to build up a bank of these nourishing words that are just sort of there, and when they need them, they know them because they've sung them so much. And I think that's a lovely thing about learning songs, is you actually learn the words as well.
It's a beautiful way to put it. Is there anything that you're excited about right now that you'd like to share?
I've been learning Arabic for a very long time, and I've started having online colloquial Palestinian lessons with a woman in Hebron on Skype. That's great. I'm amazed how well it works. It wouldn't have occurred to me ever to do that kind of learning before the pandemic, but having, got used to Zoom and all the rest of it. So I've started having lessons with her.
What are some of the sounds that you need to be able to make in Arabic that you're not used to making?
Lots of sounds. They have lots of, they have a ha. They have a heavy ha. They have a ch, like a loch, in the end of a loch. And they have a r.
Ooh.
And they have the hardest letter. The name of the letter is ein. And it's a kind of, it's almost like a glottal stop. It's a kind of at the start of a word, a kind of aqaliya. So there's that's a hard sound to make. And there's a letter called qaf, which is like our Q, but it's a kind of qa. It's at the back of your throat.
Almost like a click.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of sounds that we're not used to making in English.
When you learn how to make those sounds, do you find it increases your awareness of your mouth?
Yeah, it does, because some of these, this, we don't use that part of our mouth in English. So yes, it's been good to have to learn to make different sounds.
A lot of people feel like that when they're singing, right? That awareness of your mouth and the inside of your mouth and where your tongue touches when.
Yeah.
There are things that I certainly had never noticed before I started actually becoming aware of my mouth from the act of singing. I find that fascinating, that heightened awareness of what's going on inside.
Yeah.
Are you ready for lightning round questions?
Yes.
Okay. What's an album that was really important to you?
Tapestry, Carole King.
What is your favorite soup?
Thai red curry with butternut squash.
Ooh. Is it hot?
Yeah, it is a bit hot. Yeah, it's nice.
Lovely. What is your favorite replacement curse word?
Sugar.
That was a good build-up. Okay, what is a sound that you feel strongly about? Doesn't have to be a good or bad sound, just something that you feel strongly about.
I guess at the moment I'd say the sound of a handpan.
Who is an artist that you wish more people listened to?
Do you know Corinne Polwart?
Yes, the songs.
Scottish songbook, were you thinking of?
No.
Anyway, she's a Scottish singer-songwriter.
She's a Scottish singer-songwriter. I'm thinking of the book about lost words. Didn't she have a song?
Yes, she did spell songs. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
And before we close, I know you said you don't do publicity, but can you tell us where people can find your songbooks?
Yeah. Well, some of the songs are on YouTube because during the pandemic, because we're singing along to recordings, some of the recordings I put images to. So there are some sort of things on YouTube. Otherwise, if you go to the Natural Voice Network website and look under teachers and look under my name, you'll see how you can get hold of the songbooks.
Great.
Yeah.
We will put all of those kinds of links in the show notes. If you're listening to the podcast and scroll down, and sometimes you have to click on 3 dots or various ways to get to text, or if you're at abreathofsong.com, you can see them on the page. If you scroll down towards the bottom there will be a set of links, and I'll try to link to everything that Kate has mentioned, including if we can find a recording of a handpan or video that we can share so that people can hear what that sound is. Great. A huge thank you to you, Kate, for coming on A Breath of Song.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you are welcome. A huge thank you to you, our listeners. I'm so glad you're singing with us. Let me remind you that sharing this podcast with your friends really makes a difference. Visit abreathofsong.com to see those show notes I was just talking about with the links, the lyrics, Patty Piotrowski's glorious artwork. Sign up to get artwork and music in your mailbox. How beautiful is that? And leave something in the tip jar to help cover costs. Before Patty or I get paid, 25% is donated to the Jazz Foundation of America, which directly supports jazz, blues, and roots musicians in need. The skill and artistry of these musicians has directly shaped much of the music that I share on this podcast, yet historically they have been inadequately recognized and unfairly recompensed. This is a small step toward restoration that we can take together. Let's sing Go Dark again to help it sink in more deeply. And Kate, I'm going to ask you to sing the melody at least twice before you go to the harmony.
Okay.
So that I can re-find it.
Okay. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings.
Thank you for joining Kate and me today for A Breath of Song. I am grateful that you are taking care of yourself and listening to your voice. I believe making a better world starts with tuning into ourselves and each other, which is what we just did. So yay us. If you're liking this podcast, please share with a friend. And next time we'll plant another song. Until then, be well. That's us.
Great.